This is DAHBOO7. We have a massive cyber situation unraveling in Nevada. This has been ongoing for several days now, since Sunday, and they are saying it's still not resolved. This is targeting a lot of places that are vulnerable. It is targeted Change Healthcare. They say that Change Healthcare is part of United Health Group. It's impacting hospitals, healthcare facilities all across the state. This attack is attributed to the Alpha V Black Cat group. They're saying that they have disrupted communication systems and services, affecting the ability to care for patients. They say approximately 4 terabytes of healthcare information was stolen. So they've had this information stolen. Some of them cannot get back online until this is resolved, and this goes on. This is like all across the state, the entire state, like paralyzed. All the state stuff and websites is locked down. The Gaming Control Board has also been struck here. It's been compromised, leading to an outage. They say that while no personal or financial information was believed to have been stolen here, the attack affected the public-facing website. They go on to say here that this is something they're dealing with and trying to resolve, but it is being described as ransomware at this point, where they're wanting money to have the information given back, or I don't know. What do you do in that situation when someone steals all of the information? They want a ransom. You pay the ransom, but they're still sitting on all the information, which they could just go ahead and release. So at this point, this is a pretty big one. Anyone trying to go to the DMV to get licensed or anything like that, you're not going to be able to right now. Again, healthcare, post offices, all this stuff is going to be affected by this, and they have not nipped this in the bud. If this spreads to other states, it's not going to be good. Anyhow, this is the latest. I'll leave links. Follow me on X for more. Much love.
Go to DAHBOO7.
Here's how I
7 grams. I want y'all to check this video out and hit the like coming through the door. Hit the like. Salute to everybody that's doing real work. You know what I mean? That's sticking together, that's staying fuck girl, fuck boy free. That's keeping it real, OG. I salute y'all. You know what I mean? That's really doing the work. That's not around here thinking that the sky is falling. That's not living in their old trauma. You know, we came a long way, y'all. We did the work. You should clap for yourself. You pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a hug. I ain't gonna lie, but I want you to check this video out. Look, we at the part of the game where things are spooky now. We're not in Kansas, Dorothy. We're far from Kansas. We're way at the Atlantic. We're way fucking out. We're way out of bounds. But that's a good thing. Ain't you tired of being lied to? How many times have you been lied to? I'm serious. You ain't tired of being lied to? You're not tired of being lied to, y'all? You not? Because I'm tired of being lied to for you. It's time that we lay with the truth. So hit the like, support, show love. It's an honor. And look, I show gratitude to the ancestors because they picked us. I answered the phone. I answered the call. And apparently you did too. And continue to stay fuck girl, fuck boy, free. 7 grams. Enjoy the video. Leave your leave it in the comments. Leave it in the comments. And hit the like. Hit the like. 7. Enjoy the video.
Now, the basis of this whole transmission is the fact that this is going to be the beginning points of the time of desolation when you're talking about the abomination of desolation that is connected to the 7 thunders. Because one thing you got to understand about the fall of the church is the symbology of the resurrection of the Christ body, who was acclimated to those who have those genes that's connected to the sun, right? Because they try to tell your ass that to go to church because they don't understand that the body is the true temple, it's the true Christ. It's the symbology of ascension, right? So the fall of the church is the resurrection of the Christ body, because one thing you got to understand about the carbon body. The carbon body in itself is photovoltaic, meaning that it has the ability to transmute light into bioelectricity, right? because it's correlated to a Christ energy. That's how you propagate right knowledge. So it's not a coincidence that during this time period that the Pope, he died during the time of Easter, right? Because Easter is a part of the resurrection process of when you're talking about the Kundalini serpentine fire, right? Which is the regeneration spinal fire that hits the pineal gland, that gives you a Christ consciousness. Because the fall of the church, like I said, the fall of the church is an emulation of the resurrection of the actual Christ body of who we are, right? Because just like you have 7 chakra systems, a cathedral at a church is basically set up like the Christ body that is not acclimated to the Canaanite. That's why you got to read this book right here called Blue-Eyed Beast. It talks about the Canaanite factions, right? Hold on for a second. Now, one thing you got to understand about the Pope, his transition is basically the embodiment of a shift. We're in the Aquarian age right now, right? We're in the Aquarian age, which means that there's a transmutation process that's going to be taking place. So the Aquarian age, this is when you're going to see the fall of religion, and this is when you're going to see the other popes, as far as like the one that's going to be taking place in office, is going to be the revealing of the black nobility, and that's when you're going to get full disclosure about everything. Hold on for a second. All right.
Let me interrupt my brother. Shout out to B-dell. Go to his channel. He does great work. We're talking about the people that really run this. And they look like you, but they're not you. So that's why you can't talk about a skin color. You gotta look beyond this. Because classism was initially racism. So racism, though it exists, is really classism. But the real people that run the world, they look like they melanated. Black hand, white face. It's a family affair.
Hold on for a second. Now, we're going to get back to the presentation. All right. Now we're going to get back to the presentation. So, you're talking about the resurrection of the Christ body. Now, the death of Pope Francis is basically a transitional shift that's going to be taking place that has an impact on the indigenous spirituality. So that's connected to who we are as indigenous people, because I told you, we are the geographical title holders of the geographical landmass of America for 1 million square miles that is equated to 640 million acres of land, right? And it tells you that in their documents, right? So the death of the Vatican Church is the return of the land that's connected to the indigenous people. Now I did the ancient Proto-Semitic Hebrew Vedic gematria number of Pope Francis that is equated to 404. When you get 44, when you go to the Illuminati card game. So everything that you see taking place on the planet right now is a form of prophetic divination by way of their simulation, right? Because the perception of art imitates reality. So that's how you know that the universe in itself is numerical. The simulation and everything is numerical, which is controlled by the dark priesthood of the Vatican Church that's connected to the dark factions on the dark side of the moon. Because I showed you in my last transmission when I was talking about the Pope, the prophecy of popes of 2027, is that the Pope, every priest and every Pope that they had inside the Vatican, they have a crater on the dark side of the moon because you're following lunar religions. The lunar doctrine is connected to the Piscean age, which is why you see he wears the hat of Dagon, because Dagon is an anagram for the word Gad, who was the false god of the Bible, who was Moloch, right? Now, the Pope passed away at 88 years old, right? So I told you to watch this movie, Donnie Darko, right? Because it's all based on time traveling and interdimensional portals. In the movie, it says that in Donnie Darko, the rabbit's name is Frank. And he tells Donnie the world will end in 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. That is equated to 88. And how many keys is on the keyboard? 88. Because the 288s is a representation of the 2 keys of the silver key and the golden key, the embodiment of the dualistic energies of the sun and the moon. When you talk about Jack and Boaz, as you get back to the galactic center. So Pope Francis, his transition at 88 signifies a new beginning in a new order in biblical numerology, right? So I told you, the perception of art imitates reality. So it's not a coincidence that he died at 88, because the 88 is a representation of the keys. There's 88 keys on the keyboard, right? That's not by accident. That's not a coincidence. Like I said, everything in the gematria system that's correlated to the binary code system of the matrix is numerical. Everything is numerical, and it operates on a numerical spectrum. Now, when you look at the keys, what I was telling you, the keys he had to unlock was an encryption over humanity, because this is where you weren't able to get your cosmic codes. Your cosmic codes is your magnetism. The carbon body is an electromagnetic generator and a light code transducer. It transduces light because the carbon body is photovoltaic. It turns light into bioelectricity that enhances your magic to where you become the Christ energy. So he had to unlock these keys, because the keys were the embodiment of the sigil of Bel or Baal, who is Moloch, who is Enlil, who is Dagon, the same entity when you follow all those monotheistic teachings, right? Even when you get into the Gnostic text. So this is why you're going to see the rise of artificial intelligence, because when he unlocks these keys, which is why he died at 88 years old, unlocking these keys is going to unlock your magnetism. This is the resurrection of the Christ body, right? When you're talking about the energy of Ophiuchus, the Kundalini serpent fire. Ophiuchus, when you look at the sigil of it, what does it show you? It shows you a man holding a serpent. That serpent is the rise of the Kundalini energy. And we in the 9th year, which is a snake year, right? So it's not a coincidence that all this stuff is taking place on the planet right now. That's what you got to understand. So you got to watch this movie called Ninth Gate, because the keys unlocks the Christ body.